Justin Gaethje is a monster. He's a monster. He's a terrifying individual. He is, in a sport that's violent, it's an inherently violent sport, he stands out as the most violent.
Very soon, Justin Gaethje will return to the octagon of the world's best league. In the main card of UFC 286 on March the 18th, the highlight is going to meet with a rising and dangerous prospect in the face of Rafael Fiziev. Considering this news, we're going to overview all the knockouts in the professional career of Justin Gaethje. Please don't forget about the likes, comments with forwards, and subscribe to the channel. Here we go. Francis Ngannou and many other UFC fighters constantly complain that they don't get paid enough. Taxes take away too much of their paycheck and they end up with nothing. And besides, there is a fear of where to keep the money. What if it is stolen or something happens to the bank? And honestly, we are no different from the fighters. I think everyone has these fears and thoughts in their head. But we all have a great way to stop worrying about that with 1inch. It's a reliable cryptocurrency wallet that will take away our fear of losing our money. 1inch is our savior. 1inch DeFi wallet is a place where you can safely store your money and not be afraid that someone will take it. There are no directors because it is decentralized. At 1inch, you can make transfers with absolutely no fees and receive money to your account with minimal commissions. Also, you'll be interested to know that 1inch was a sponsor of one of the MMA tournaments with cryptocurrency rewards and a partner of Octagon. If cryptocurrency is a dark forest for you, but you've always wanted to get into it, now is the time. By the way, Francis Ngannou liked crypto because of its convenience and reliability. Well, I won't keep you waiting. Follow the link in the description and download the wallet right now. Number 1. Kevin Croom, ROF 41. The official start of Justin Gaethje's professional MMA career dates back to August the 20th of 2011. Prior to that, the highlight had a couple of fights in amateurs and won every single one of them in a vivid and spectacular fashion. The upper league debut happened to be against the American fighter Kevin Croom in the local organization called ROF. The wild nature of Justin Gaethje rushed into action from the very first round. Based on this footage, the highlight did not neglect his wrestling base in the very beginning. On the contrary, he actively used it. It was all over with 1 minute in, after a brutal slam and a flashy finishing sequence. The first professional win is already in the bag. Number 2. Drew Fickett, Rage in the Cage 163. The next fight we're going to talk about happened on October the 20th of 2012. At that moment, young Highlight was already on a 5-fight winning streak, 4 out of which were stoppages, and continued to destroy his opponents one after another. The 6th name on his resume happened to be another American athlete nicknamed Knight Rider, Drew Fickett. As soon as the fighters collided, Justin did not wait for too long and threw a combination of 3 strikes followed by an uppercut and knocked his opponent out cold in just 12 seconds. The crowd was thrilled by such a performance. As you can see, our hero was justifying his nickname already from the very beginning of his career. Number 3. Adrian Valdez, Rage in the Cage 164. Right after the fight with Fickett, Justin Gaethje went for the head of Adrian Valdez. The guys met at the 164th event of Rage in the Cage on November the 16th of the same year. The highlight went forward from the very first seconds. He immediately landed a vicious low kick, letting his opponent know that he will remember this night for a long time. Then Justin Gaethje tried to take Valdez to the ground, but was met with resistance and dragged him to the fence. From there, he began to unload with dynamite punches to the body and no less explosive bombs to the head. Adrian was clearly stunned and tried to back up. Gaethje went ahead and initiated the clinch again. When the guys separated, Justin went back to utilizing the low kicks. Valdez desperately tries to fight back, but gets caught by another right from Justin. The guys are putting on a show. The crowd is delighted and cheers for them. Highlight continues to break his opponent and soon uses the wrestling once again. He grabs both of Adrian's legs and executes a power throw to the ground. It was followed by some hammers from the top, but the guy got saved by the bell. The second round did not have time to properly start off. At first, Highlight lands a kick. Valdez tries to keep the distance, but Gaethje did not let him go, and the very next right bomb knocked his opponent out cold. He even had time to argue with the referee because Adrian is obviously not able to continue, and Justin is forced to follow up. 19th second of the second round and another spectacular knockout from the Highlight. Number 4. Josiah Cavalcante. The next fight of Justin Gaethje happened to be a debut in the bigger organization called WSOF. At the second event on May the 23rd of 2013, he shared the octagon with the Brazilian Josiah Cavalcante. The Highlight starts off rough with a deadly low kick. The Brazilian tries to find a breach in the defense and shoot for the legs, but the American is not so easy to get. He continues to attack and lands different wild punches. Half a minute later, a big uppercut checks the durability of the Brazilian fighter's chin. Gaethje ties his opponent in the clinch and uses knees. Cavalcante tries to catch a breather and recover, but Justin constantly keeps him tensed up. He lands such explosive combinations that drops to the canvas himself. The wild nature of Highlight is something else. Another low kick, and then another huge right, which frankly was quite challenging for Josiah to take. The Highlight continues his onslaught and stuns the Brazilian with heavy elbows in the clinch. A couple more knees, uppercuts, and the referee had to step in. Cold-blooded violence and viciousness of Justin Gaethje after the beaten up and battered opponent was examined led to the bout being stopped after just half of a round. Another TKO win due to the doctor's stoppage for the Highlight. Number 5. Brian Cobb, WSOF 3. At the very next tournament on June the 14th of the local fighting league, Justin Gaethje faced the American Brian Bandit Cobb. Well, the Highlight is already in the cage, and that means that we are going to witness an uncompromising brawl. Justin is the one to be active from the very beginning. He starts off with the low kicks as usual, then adds kicks to the head, but misses and gets taken down. Gaethje immediately sweeps the opponent and takes the dominant position. For some time, Brian tries to hold the Highlight so he won't unload his bombs, as the firepower of this guy is perceptible from any position. When the guys get back to their feet, Gaethje stalks his opponent and throws huge kicks to different levels. Cobb tries to answer from a distance, but as soon as he gets hit with a low kick, rushes at his opponent and enters the clinch. Soon, it is followed by another sudden transition to the ground. For some time, Bandit holds the initiative. He slowly pounds away and tries to execute a choke. Justin gets up and wants to get Brian Cobb off him with a rough throw. However, he doesn't succeed, and the latter sits on his opponent, methodically beating him up till the end of the round. The next 5 minutes start off more cautiously. Gaethje puts power in every strike, especially the low kicks, but he doesn't rush at his vis-a-vis anymore, while Cobb tries to back up and stay in range after every punch or a kick. Overall, Justin took the second round. For the whole time, he was doing damage and ruthlessly beating Brian up, occasionally taking a break for a clinch or takedown defense. In the third and final round, the Highlight puts an exclamation mark. Right with the bell, he rushes into action and continues to blast poor Cobb. This time, Justin decides to apply even more pressure and focuses on his opponent's legs. He mercilessly butchers them with his steel low kicks for 3.5 minutes, until Bandit finally pressed to the cage due to unbearable pain and a referee had to stop this bout. TKO victory for the Highlight due to the leg kicks, and one would not envy Brian Cobb, that's for sure. Number 6. Dan Lauzon, WSOF 6. 4 months later, the highlight entered the octagon for a new portion of pain and suffering. At the 6th tournament of WSOF, he fought against the American representative Dan Lauzon. The guys start off as always, wild and rough. Gaethje follows his opponent and tries to hit him as hard as possible with every opportunity of convergence. He doesn't waste any chances to make Dan Lauzon feel burning pain in his whole body. And again, Justin focuses more on the low kicks. By the end of the round, it is already evident how he begins to break his opponent and make him desperately back up. But the epitome of violence can be considered the moment when the highlight intentionally batters Lauzon's legs, and the latter is not just limping, but literally can't stand. He constantly loses balance and falls on the canvas. However, he still manages to make it till the end of the round. The next 5 minutes continues with violence and methodical beatdown. Dan couldn't handle the onslaught of Gaethje, and after a counter right hook at the 2nd minute mark, gets caught with an attack straight to the chin. Charged up, and while Justin rushes for the finish and scores another stoppage victory in a specifically vicious fashion. Number 7. Richard Patishnock, WSOF 8. Already in January of 2014, Justin Gaethje headlined the 8th tournament. The total record of 10 wins with no losses, and in such a spectacular style, gave the highlight an opportunity to fight for the lightweight title. His opponent happened to be a young American fighter, Richard Patishnock, with a professional record of 6 wins and 1 loss. The fight starts off and Justin flies into his opponent with a leg strike. Patishnock tries to counter the highlight and presses him to the fence, but all of a sudden finds himself on the ground. When Richard manages to get up, he meets with a freight train in the right hand of Gaethje and can barely keep standing. Highlight smells the blood and goes for the finish. A couple more powerful shots and elbows, incomparable with most other lightweights, gets the job done. Justin Gaethje earns the victory after 1 minute and 9 seconds and becomes the champion of the promotion. Number 8. Nick Newell. On July the 5th of 2014, the main highlight of the lightweight division entered the octagon to have his first title defense. In the main event of the evening at the 11th tournament, he faced a fighter from Connecticut, Nick Newell. That same guy, the fight with whom was highly discussed on the internet due to his peculiarity. The fight begins with a mutual exchange. What else would you expect from a young highlight? The guys brawl it out. Justin pressures with his low kicks and looping dynamite in his hands, but Newell tries to answer back no less aggressively. Despite an evident advantage, Nick was not looking to take a step back and persistently went for the takedown. Ultimately, he couldn't take Gaethje down, but to even it out, he accepts to fight in the clinch. Soon, Justin sets himself free and begins to thrust heavy blows, for which Newell responds with an attempt to shoot for the legs. Such a scenario kept on going till the very end of the round, and overall, it was the highlight who held the initiative for the most part. The second round couldn't reach the bell, and that's being generous. And if you call it as it is, when the second round started, Justin began to act like a cold-blooded killer who stalks his prey and finally gets to it. After a little hitch, as the doctors wanted to examine Nick's cut, Gaethje finished what he started with a double-barreled right hook. Second round, another knockout. Simply amazing. Number 9. Luis Palomino, WSOF 19 and 23. In March of 2015, Justin Gaethje shared the octagon with the fighter from Peru, Luis Palomino. That fight headlined at WSOF 19. Throughout a couple of rounds, Palomino was using all the presets he had and desperately tried to snatch the win from a furious highlight. He tried to attack, responded to the lunges of Gaethje, and actively moved in the cage, and even had success in some sequences. But Justin was merciless. Closer to the end of the third round, he battered his shin so badly that after another hit, the Peruvian immediately dropped to the canvas, not being able to continue. It's scary to think how much time he needed to properly recover from that, because that spectacle was quite vicious. Half a year later, the league put together a rematch. Even though Luis lost the first fight, he looked rather good in some of the moments. So on December 18th, the guys collided in the octagon for the second time in the main event of the evening at the 23rd tournament. The second fight began a little more reserved. Gaethje went forward with a flying low kick, while the Peruvian worked from the distance and used timely counterattacks. A little more than a minute later, Palomino even managed to wobble the highlight and rushed for the finish. It even seemed for a second that he could pay his opponent back. It was only needed to push a little bit more. But Gaethje is not the one to give up fast if he is stunned on the feet. Soon, the American fighter came back to his senses and by the middle of the round took his opponent down. He used that time to catch a little breather, and a few moments later, fighters got back to their feet. As soon as that happened and the guys got in the pocket, Justin knocked the Peruvian down with a heavy uppercut. Gaethje couldn't finish Palomino, but he kept him tensed up till the last minute of the round. The last 60 seconds were more or less measured. Athletes began to breathe heavily, but the second round was ahead. The next 5 minutes started with a relentless pressure and focus on the target from the highlight. Luis Palomino did everything in his powers to fight back and kept Justin away from him. Even with damaged legs, he still tried to maneuver and move. But 1 minute later, Gaethje pulled the trigger once again with the same uppercut as the first round. Fighters spent another minute in the clinch. When the guys separated, the highlight reminded the Peruvian of his vicious low kicks. The crowd screamed Gaethje's name and filled him up with inner energy. Palomino could barely stand on his feet. Sure, he managed to make it till the last minute, but not due to him being a fighter, rather than Justin and his fatigue. Either way, it was all over before the bell rang. With 40 seconds left on the clock, the highlight caught the chin of Luis and separated him from consciousness. Another title defense and a deep knockout. Number 10. Brian Foster, WSOF 29. On March the 12th of 2016, the highlight came out to his 16th professional fight, having 15 victories on his resume. In the main event of the 29th tournament, he was up against Brian Foster. This time the fight didn't even last 2 minutes. Despite a huge experience, Foster couldn't offer anything to his vis-a-vis. Not the aggressive manner, nor the pressure could save his legs from permanent damage. Justin was ruthlessly battering his limbs every single time. For some reason, he decided to focus on the low kicks in this bout, and such a tactic worked violently. After a couple of knockdowns, another hit to the shin simply brought Brian down. He collapsed with a grimace of pain, not having a desire or being able to continue. Number 11. Michael Johnson, UFC, The Ultimate Fighter 25 finale. At the next spot, we have a debut appearance of Justin Gaethje in the world's best league. At that moment, he was still undefeated and wanted to break into the main promotion and put his name on the map. The one to meet him happened to be the elite striker in the face of Michael Johnson, who did not shy away from making harsh statements prior to the upcoming show.
Justin, you had wars in World Series, but when you come over to the UFC, you won't have a war with me, man. So it's all right. We're gonna bang. Don't get it wrong, but you're out of your league on this one, buddy.
He's right. If I wasn't a Division I All-American,
This isn't wrestling.
if I couldn't kick your leg off, if I couldn't break you
This isn't wrestling.
in any way,
You can be a D1
every
whatever
way,
how you want to.
I ain't here to talk shit. Hey,
It's not
I do my talking in the cage. That's all I care about. I'm preparing right now, and I'm a violent motherfucker. I'm the most violent lightweight on this planet, and I will prove that.
No,
That's
you're
it. You're gonna
speaking
find
to
out.
The most violent
You're gonna
lightweight on
find
the
out.
planet. Trust me.
It's gonna be a march to deep water, baby, and you ain't not gonna laugh. You know.
The Highlights UFC debut went exactly as it should. The wild and ferocious nature of Justin Gaethje was put on full display in the main octagon. Despite a tough first round and challenges in the beginning of the second one, due to which he was very close to a defeat, near the end he managed to smash Michael Johnson and successfully break into the UFC.
That's it! He cannot! Justin Gaethje with his ultimate highlight! He doesn't even have the energy to celebrate!
Number 12. James Vick, UFC Fight Night 135. After debuting in the world's best league, Justin Gaethje suffered 2 consecutive losses to Eddie Alvarez and Dustin Poirier. In the eyes of the public, the American urgently needed to bounce back, so the matchmakers gave him an average prospect in James Vick to headline the main event of the Fight Night 135.
I'm trying to finish him. I'm trying to knock him out. I'm trying to break his legs. This is fighting. This is not wrestling. It's mixed martial arts. Yeah, I need to mix it up a little bit, but this isn't the one.
Starting from this bout, the highlight really made adjustments and added some fight IQ to his performance. He methodically aimed at the chin of James Vick and tries to find a breach in his defense. In the end, the main event of the evening lasted for only 87 seconds when Justin pressed James to the fence. He did not wait for too long and threw a crushing 1-2 that knocked Vick out cold.
Big right from Gaethje, and down goes Vick! Justin Gaethje is back and sticks the landing once again!
Slept it. Big old.
Number 13. Edson Barbosa, UFC on ESPN2. On March the 30th of 2019, the main highlight of the world's best league returned to the octagon to face a dangerous Brazilian kicker in Edson Barbosa. The highlight headlined the tournament once again.
Making me very excited, making me train a lot for this fight, you know. I need to be 100%, and I will 100%. I'm 100% right now. And yeah, I'm a big fan watching fights, you know. I love watching his fights. He's a true fighter. He's coming forward. He try bang with everybody, and definitely that's gonna be, like I said, it's gonna be a fun night.
In this fight, Justin Gaethje continued to impress each and everybody with his skills. First, the highlight discouraged the Brazilian with his steel low kicks, because we know that Edson is famous for being a merciless kicker himself, who viciously batters the legs of his opponents. Then Justin showed a cold-blooded approach and exploded only when he saw an opportunity for an attack. And in the end, he delivered another performance of the night by a brutal knockout that literally froze Barbosa in the corner of the cage. He destroyed the number 6 ranked lightweight in just half a round and drew attention from the whole fighting community once again.
Taking some leg damage, these boys.
Yeah, Gaethje with some.
Oh, got him with a overhand right. It's over. That is it. No chance in Barbosa.
Number 14. Donald Cerrone, UFC Fight Night 158. Already in the middle of September, Justin Gaethje faced the veteran of the premier organization, Donald Cerrone. At that moment, Cowboy had a 3-fight winning streak and lost to Tony Ferguson in his last fight. So in the main event of the UFC Fight Night 158, the guys were contesting the top 5 spot. Justin Gaethje got done with Donald Cerrone also inside 5 minutes. Closer to the end of the round, he stunned Cowboy with a powerful right and argued with the referee, like in the times when he competed in WSOF. Another consecutive knockout win in the UFC.
This kid's a stud, man. It was very hard to fight a friend. And God, what a cool dude. What a cool sport. Tomorrow I wake up and I get to go fight again, man. I love my job. So, Justin, the roof's yours, man. Go have some fun, brother. I'm having fun with you tonight. All right, guys.
Takes a knee and he's taking the punishment. He's hurt back. Gaethje has him down. It's over. Justin Gaethje by first round knockout again. Holy smoke, Justin Gaethje has some power.
Number 15. Tony Ferguson, UFC 249. The last fight we are going to talk about today that ended with a knockout in highlights favor took place at the notorious event UFC 249. As you remember, it was already a 5th attempt to put together the fight between Khabib Nurmagomedov and Tony Ferguson for the undisputed lightweight championship. However, the plans interfered with the pandemic and the Dagestani pulled out of the fight due to the fact that he couldn't leave the country. So Gaethje accepted the fight on short notice and the status of the bout was changed for the interim title.
Winner of this fight will fight Khabib. You know, I know there was a lot of talk with people, you know, different people saying different things that, you know, Khabib should have stayed here, he should have done this, he should have done that. We all made mistakes leading up to that, including me. I made mistakes too that ended up getting him stuck in Moscow. So he didn't do that on his own. We all had a part in that. And, you know, I even knew more than people knew going into this thing, and I still made mistakes because I didn't, you know, in my lifetime, I never thought I'd see the Las Vegas Strip shut down. I never thought that would happen. I didn't even think that was possible.
Despite all the unexpected circumstances that accompanied this tournament, it finally happened. And as many of you remember that night on May the 9th, Justin Gaethje took Tony Ferguson's soul. He did what many couldn't do for 8 years, while El Cucuy was on his legendary streak of 12 consecutive wins. He broke Tony Ferguson both mentally and physically. The brand new style of the highlight did not let the Mexican butcher even get close to winning, except for the knockdown at the end of the second round and a timely bell. Basically, Justin split Tony's career in before and after. It was over when the fight passed the middle of the final round. Ferguson ate another portion of strikes from Gaethje and started to back up, shaking his head. Technical knockout.
He's real hurt. Oh, he's hurt bad. They're going to stop the fight. That's it. Justin Gaethje stops Tony Ferguson in round 5. He's the UFC's Interim Lightweight Champion. I mean, that is...
There it is, guys. Leave your opinion in the comments below. Which of the aforementioned knockouts did you like the most? And what do you expect from the highlights return? Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the new videos. And of course, hit the like button if you enjoyed this one. And that's it for today. See you soon.